Hey y'all, it's Lindsay, and today I wanted to share with you our General Tso's recipe that is low carb, keto friendly, and sugar free. This is a recipe that we have been eating now for several years. Jared and I both really love General Tso's chicken from Chinese takeout and Chinese restaurants, but those are definitely not friendly for a low carb or a keto lifestyle. And it's one of those things that we actually don't make very often because it's a little bit labor intensive, but it is so delicious. It is not an authentic General Tso's chicken recipe. So it's just kind of our take on it. And we really love to eat this over top of cauli rice with some broccoli on the side. Let me start with the actual sauce part first.
To get started, let's use some chicken bone broth. This is going to be 1/4 cup. Then white wine vinegar or rice vinegar, we'll do 3 tablespoons. And then we're going to do 2.5 tablespoons of some coconut aminos. And then follow that with 2 tablespoons of sugar-free ketchup. Now we're going to add in 1 to 2 tablespoons of erythritol. This is really a place where you get to decide how sweet you want it. And then also let's go ahead and add in 1/2 tablespoon of some peanut butter powder. And then 2 teaspoons of sesame oil. 1/2 tablespoon of the Worcestershire sauce. 1/2 to 1 teaspoon of some sriracha or other chili sauce. About 1/4 teaspoon of spicy brown mustard. 1 teaspoon of red pepper flakes. 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. And 1 teaspoon of some ginger powder, and then 1/4 teaspoon of some glucomannan powder. We're going to whisk this together really well to ensure there are no lumps in the sauce. Then we'll set the temperature on our stove to a medium-low temperature, and we're going to keep an eye on this for the first few minutes. Try to get it to a gentle boil and then reduce our heat to let it simmer and let those flavors really develop, while it also reduces in volume and gets a little bit thicker.
So while that is on the stove, I'm going to go ahead and start on my chicken. I am going to cube up this chicken, and then we're going to dredge it in some low carb breading and air fry it.
Here I have 2 chicken breasts. This is approximately 2 pounds of chicken, maybe a little bit more. And as you can see, I'm going to trim off some of this extra fat that's not really going to do much for our recipe. If you have a high quality chicken, hang on to it and use that when making your bone stock. It will really enhance the flavor, but if you have a lesser cut of meat, I would recommend not holding on to it. Having partially thawed chicken makes it a lot easier to chunk up. And I really like to make my chunks to the size that it would take about 2 bites per piece. That seems to be a pretty reasonable sized bite, and it also seems to cook fairly evenly. As I said earlier, this is an air fryer recipe. The air fryer really helps to make a crispy chicken, and it just seems to go more quickly than using my stovetop and my oven. However, for the first few years that I made this recipe, before we had an air fryer, that is exactly what I did. I took my chicken chunks and followed this exact same process for the prep portion, but I fried them in coconut oil in a big heavy-bottomed skillet on my stove until they were golden all around the outside, and then I would use my oven at 350 degrees to finish cooking them once they were fully sauced. So using this recipe in an oven is a for sure winner as well. I really like using my air fryer though, because like I said, it's a much quicker process. Moving on to the next step, let's go ahead and whisk up a couple of eggs for an egg wash. And I also need to season up my chicken a little bit with some salt and pepper. I do this lightly, and then I like to give my chicken a toss in the bowl just to kind of help it evenly distribute. And once I finish this, I need to go ahead and start preheating my air fryer. Mine has a preheat button. It takes about 5 minutes, which is the perfect amount of time, while I start to make the coating for my chicken. I like to use really inexpensive pork rinds that are not exactly the most flavorful to just eat on their own. In these kinds of recipes, that's probably about 2 cups of pork rinds and about 1/4 cup of my DIY baking blend. I'm going to go pulse this on my food processor to get a consistent grind, and then I'm going to add a little bit more of my baking blend. That's another 1/4 cup. And then I'm going to use these really inexpensive bags from Walmart. They're in the Ziploc bag section. It's the Great Value brand. They are used for breads and things and very inexpensive. I'm going to leave some air in that bag and seal it up, shake it up really well to get that all incorporated. And then I'm going to just simplify my life and dump my egg mixture right onto my raw chicken and just sort of swoosh that around to ensure every piece is coated. This is so much faster than dipping the chicken in the egg mixture and then putting it into the bag here. Now I'm gonna do this shake and bake style. I'm gonna put about 5 to 6 pieces of chicken, leave an air pocket in your bag, cinch it tight and shake it up. And then just pop your pieces of chicken into your preheated air fryer. And then this process is going to be repeated over and over again until the basket of your air fryer is filled. If you are doing the stovetop and oven method, right now you would go ahead and put your breaded chicken into your hot oil on the stovetop, fry them up a little bit, and then place them onto a cookie sheet to be able to cook the rest of the way in your oven. Now that I've got everybody in the basket, let's go ahead and cook these at 350 degrees for 15 minutes. I'm going to check on my sauce. It has reduced well, a little bit of a film on top, but I can just whisk that in and it dissolves right away. It's really nice and thick. That'll be perfect for our chicken later. Let's go ahead and check on the chicken in the air fryer after about 5 minutes. Give it a shake and let it keep going. And after 14 minutes, it is nice and golden and crispy. I'm going to set these in a dish to the side while I continue to bread and air fry the rest of the chicken. With the amount of chicken that I had here, I had to do 2 air fryer batches. And as you can see, there's the rest of my chicken. I do not want to dump the entire basket straight into the bowl because there is debris in the bottom of my air fryer that I don't want mixed in. I'm going to drizzle about 1/3 of the sauce onto my chicken, and then I'm going to go ahead and toss it around to coat it well. I only like to put sauce on the amount of chicken that I can get into the air fryer basket at one time so that this chicken doesn't get soggy as it's sitting to wait for its turn. If you are using your oven to do this portion of the recipe, you can go ahead and just do all of the chicken at one time, fit it all onto a sheet pan or a couple of sheet pans, and then you can get it into the oven. Now I'm going to get all of this saucy chicken into my air fryer so that it can go for another round in the air fryer. This really allows the sauce to just become one with the chicken. It tastes amazing this way. I'm gonna put this back in the air fryer at 350 degrees for 15 minutes, but I'm still gonna check on it every few minutes. As you can see, we're at 8 minutes here. This is looking delicious, and I'm gonna go ahead and pop it back into my bowl. I've washed the bowl to make it less messy for myself, and I'm gonna go ahead and drizzle in a little bit more sauce to really enhance the flavor. If you're using an oven to make this, be sure to toss the chicken about every 15 minutes, letting it bake for an entire hour, and then add more sauce once it's out of the oven.
All right, my General Tso's chicken is complete. I'm about to plate up. I've got some cauli rice going back here. I've got some broccoli going back here. I do still have some of my sauce left over, but I thought I would just kind of like taste a little bit and we'll let you know if this one turned out well. I'm gonna take a small little tiny chunk. So here's what we have. It's golden, it's a little bit saucy. If you like a ton of sauce on yours, go for it. Just be aware that little carbs add up, and usually most sauces wind up being about 1 gram of net carbs. I have not calculated the nutrition information for my sauce, but I mean, you know what your body needs, you know what you need. Okay, I'm gonna plate this up, show you what that looks like, and I'll be back. Thank you so much for joining me today while I showed you how I make General Tso's chicken. This, like I said, is a fan favorite for me and Jared, and while it's not exactly like restaurant General Tso's chicken, it definitely hits the spot. And that's all I have for you. I hope to see you in the next video.